A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. It's a famous line from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, and it basically means it doesn't actually matter what a thing's called. It doesn't really change what it is. I was reminded of that line earlier this week when it was announced that construction equipment giant Hitachi is planning to change its name to Landcros. More specifically, I was reminded of that line by the reaction of many in the industry to a transition from a name that is universally known and widely respected to something that doesn't even appear to be spelled correctly. So, with nothing better to do, I decided to have a dig through corporate history for examples of where a name change proved to be a good thing and a few where it didn't. Let's start with a few in which the name change was so successful that it's almost impossible to imagine using their original name. For example, if Pepsi had stuck with its original brand name, Brad's Drink, the Cola Wars would have looked very, very different. Equally, would sports enthusiasts want to be dressed in t shirts and sneakers from Blue Ribbon Sports? Maybe not. But Nike, its adopted name, now globally famous. Do you think they'd sell as many PlayStations if, instead of Sony, the maker had stuck with their original name, Tokyo Telecommunications Engineering Corporation? And then there's my personal favourite. Google is now a name so ubiquitous that it's actually become shorthand for an internet search. You don't look up a thing, you Google it. But Google was not the company's original name. And if it hadn't changed back in the late 1990s, we wouldn't be Googling information. We'd be back rubbing it. Would actor John Wayne have appeared quite as tough if he'd stuck with his real name, Marion Morrison? Would Michael Caine still be considered the archetypal Cockney geezer if he'd persisted with Maurice Micklewhite? Keanu Reeves was told to change his name by studio executives, and when the best alternative he could come up with was Chuck Spadina, they stuck with Keanu Reeves, and the rest is movie history. In each instance, with the notable exception of Keanu Reeves, they each prospered after a name change. That being said, we're talking about changes that took place 30 plus years ago. We've had time to grow accustomed and to acclimatise. How long will it take us to embrace the Landcross name? Will we ever? Of course, it seems unlikely that Hitachi will suffer as a result of its planned name switch. After all, the engineering prowess, the technical excellence, and the global support will remain unchanged, as will the company's formidable reputation. But a brand being damaged by an ill advised name change is not without precedent. As recently as 2023, Twitter saw its brand image derailed by its switch to the name X to coincide with it being purchased by Elon Musk. Most users still refer to it by its original name, and they don't X, they still tweet. Of course, the undermining of the brand wasn't helped by Elon Musk's close ties to Donald Trump at the time or his Hitler salute. There's also the case of Consignia. Consignia, I hear you ask? Yes, Consignia. Back in 2001, the Royal Mail, in its infinite wisdom, decided to rebrand and call itself Consignia, supposedly to reflect its evolving logistics business. The British public, however, were having none of it. Customers didn't connect the new name with the heritage Royal Mail brand. They said the new name sounded abstract and devoid of institutional trust. And after 15 months, the company reverted back to the Royal Mail, probably at considerable cost. Closer to home in the field of demolition and construction, Rammer hydraulic breakers were temporarily rebranded when they were absorbed into the Sandvik organisation. Thankfully, Sandvik eventually saw sense, and the Rammer name, like the Royal Mail, came back. The Hitachi Landcross name swap is still a full 18 months away. Maybe by then, what currently feels like a jarring transition will feel a bit more palatable. There will, I'm sure, be future generations of operators who will view the Hitachi name purely as something their father talked about. In much the same way, there's probably operators that don't realise that Develon was once called Doosan, or that Doosan was once called Daewoo. At the end of the day, a rose by any other name should smell as sweet. And if Landcross delivers the same enduring reliability, same global network, same operator trust that the Hitachi name built, then maybe the transition will be as seamless as the welds on their excavator bodywork and as smooth as their hydraulic controls. But make no mistake, name equity matters. So the owner of a 20-ton excavator, the name on the boom tells a story of engineering, support experience, parts availability, resale value. So yes, if the machinery remains the same, the service remains the same, the people remain the same, maybe the name really is just a label. Time will tell whether Landcros will become shorthand for reliability and innovation in the demolition and construction sector, or whether folks just keep saying, I've got a Hitachi for years to come. I'll be watching this one closely.